Hey everybody, welcome. I'm Chris, and this is the Daily Reflections with Chris. Those of you who are new to this channel, or maybe this is the first time you jump on here, the purpose of this channel is to just share my experience, strength, and hope with you guys as it pertains to my recovery from alcoholism. Hopefully, spread some hope, maybe a little bit of joy, maybe a little recovery, a little bit of everything. Even tears sometimes. So just to kind of help me stay on a topic or pick a topic, because I can talk about anything, but I use this book to guide me, right? It's called Daily Reflections, and every day there's a new entry. Every day of the year, March 6th, March 7th, different topic. Today's March 6th, so let's get started. The title of today's entry is called The Idea of Faith. Do not let any prejudice you may have against spiritual terms deter you from honestly asking yourself what they mean to you. That's from Alcoholics Anonymous, page 47. The idea of faith is a very large chunk to swallow when fear, doubt, and anger abound in and around me. Sometimes just the idea of doing something different, something I am not accustomed to doing, can eventually become an act of faith if I do it regularly and do it without debating whether it's the right thing to do. When a bad day comes along and everything is going wrong, a meeting or a talk with another drunk often distracts me just enough to persuade me that everything is not quite as impossible, as overwhelming as I had thought. In the same way, going to a meeting or talking to a fellow alcoholic are acts of faith. I believe I'm arresting my disease. These are ways I slowly move toward faith in a higher power. So it's March, and in March, a lot of third step topics, right? It's the hot topic of March, the third step. And the third step says that we turn it over, right? We made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. And here in the beginning, it talks about don't let any prejudice you may have against spiritual terms deter you from honestly asking yourself what they mean to you. Spiritual terms like God, like Jesus Christ, Holy Spirit, all these things, even beyond that, right? That's just, those seem to be the ones that really deter people. Those words, you talk about God in a meeting and people just like, some people will just practically walk out, because I get it. There's a lot of church hurt, right? There's a lot of church hurt in these rooms. So when people come here, they don't want to talk about God. They don't even believe there is a God. And if there is a God, why does it have to be that God? I mean, why does it have to be with the guy with the long hair and the beard? Why can't it be a girl or a black? You know, they start getting into all this. Some of us will get into this big old debate about what God looks like on the outside. And here, even in the reading, they're like taking a whole different angle towards it. It's like, no, man, don't let those words deter you from asking you what they mean to you. Who, if there was a God, what would He be like? Or she be like? Whatever, you know, like people get so caught up in those pronouns, right? So they go on to talk about, okay, let's look at it. Let's talk about this idea of faith. Okay. All right. So instead of you trying to figure out who this God is or isn't, why don't we just do the next right thing? Why don't we just do something that's going to help us today? Like wake up on time, eat a good breakfast, you know, pray, meditate, carry the message, go to work, have a good time with your fellows. You know, do little things that even for myself, I wasn't accustomed to doing. You know, I wasn't used to doing all that. I wasn't even used to showing up to work on Mondays. So little things like this that I started to doing, they started to change my life. As a matter of fact, when I first got sober, I was having a lot of trouble, right? Because I had this circle of people around me that we all used to drink and drug together. So they were always at my house. Because I had my own apartment, so they'd all come over and we'd party at my house like every single day of the week. So when I first got sober, they would still come to my house because I was the only one sober and my partner at that time wasn't. So they would come and party with her. Like, in other words, their life didn't change just because mine changed. And I remember, you know, one day just being really frustrated because, you know, I would ask myself things like, oh, why do I have to quit? Why don't they have to quit? Why do I have to be the alcoholic? Why not them? Why, you know, I felt like it was a curse on my life and on my person, my being. And I was so frustrated. I mean, I was at the bus stop crying. I wanted to go home, but I didn't want to come home. Like, why can't they just stop too? Why can't they support me? You know, I started just really just letting out, right, from the gut, like just really just unleashing like all this stuff that was inside of me that I had denied, that I had been denying up until that time. So I call my sponsor. Oh, I think I might have told you all the story already. So I call my sponsor and she's like, pray. And I was like, pray? I don't know how to pray. And she says, well, don't you say a serenity prayer at the meetings? I said, yeah, I know that one. She was like, okay, well, then you know how to pray. And I said, okay. And she goes, and we do the Our Father too. You know that one, right? And I said, yeah, I know that one. She goes, okay, there, now you got 2 prayers. She says, when you go home tonight, she says, I want you to do, I just want you to keep praying over and over. Pray the serenity prayer over and over, the Our Father over and over. Just keep praying and praying over and over till you fall asleep. And I said, okay, man, that's what I'll do, right? I didn't know if it was gonna work or not, but I knew that at some point I had made the decision that I was willing to do or willing to go to any lengths for my recovery, right? So I said, okay, and we hang up the phone. I wasn't far from my house, so I get home and, you know, I'm still pissed off, but not as pissed off, right? So I go home and everybody's there and music's loud, cigarette smoke everywhere, and I just like rush straight to my room, right? And I close the door and everybody's like, you okay? And I said, yeah, I'm okay. Even though I was really dying inside, right? I was like, yeah, I'm okay. And you know, I got to my jammies and I laid down and I just started praying. I just started praying, and you know, like the only prayers I knew was the Serenity Prayer and the Our Father, and I just prayed them and prayed them and prayed them until I fell asleep. And you know, I cried a lot too, right? Because my life was changing, and I was mourning my friends, and I was mourning my lover who was out there partying, and just people that I really care about that were in my life, and now we had to be separate. And so then I did it that night, and I was like, oh man, that worked. But remember, we partied every night, so the next night I did it again. I had this new tune now, right? So my doggies. So then the next night I get home and the same thing, party, and I said, okay, go straight to my room, started praying. You know, I did the same thing I did the night before, just prayed and prayed and prayed till I fell asleep. And I was like, okay, 3rd night, did the same thing. But like the 4th or 5th morning after the night, but like the 4th or 5th morning after those nights, I started to realize that I was waking up like in a better mood. I was waking up feeling better about my day. I was waking up with a little more zest. I was waking up with some spunk. I was waking up like ready for the day. And every night I would get home, I would just look forward to just praying. And that's how the faith thing started to work for me. Like, it wasn't necessarily about me trying to define who God is or isn't, but just going through the motions, right? Just going through the action steps and be like, try this, Chris, try something different, try something new, just try something. And so that's what I did. And that's how this faith stuff started to work for me. It's like, oh man, this prayer stuff really works. And something's definitely happening to me, because now I'm praying till I fall asleep. And when I wake up in the morning, my mood's different. My days are brighter. My attitudes, you know, it's like, wow, it was nice. And it was new, because I'd never experienced that before. Because I was that person who woke up in the middle of the night to smoke a cigarette and drink a beer, so I can go back to bed and wake up at some point again to smoke a cigarette and drink a beer and then go back to bed. I mean, that was what my lifestyle was. Get up in the morning, have beer for breakfast, have a cigarette for breakfast, then go to work, smelling like beer and cigarette and liquor and smoke and everything, and drink and drug by break. You know, it's just like this crazy cycle of addiction where it just, man, my life started to really spiral down, and it got so dark where that's all that I knew. I didn't even know people in the end. I just knew myself, because it got to this point where, like, I surpassed everybody in my alcoholism, right? Everybody was like not there. The progression of my alcoholism was like fast for me. It's like, I was never a social drinker. From the first drink to the last drink, alcoholic, boom. And it just got really, really bad, really, really fast. So having this new tool and having these new feelings in the morning where I wasn't hungover, I wasn't thinking about how I was gonna get drunk, I wasn't, you know, talking about my boss. I didn't have those thoughts in my head anymore. And I was just like, wow, you know, you smell you wake up in the morning, you take a good shower. I started ironing my clothes again. I hadn't ironed in a while. Man, I started, you know, buying me the good stuff, the good smelling stuff, the stuff that works. Started taking a shower, ironing my clothes, making sure I look good for work, and getting there before time. I mean, oh my God, I used to enjoy, and I was in the bus, and I used to enjoy walking out of my house and smelling the morning and be like, oh, the morning, it smells so good. And then get on the bus and just sit there and just read or sorry, my dog, she like wants my attention, man. I think, I don't know what's wrong. She just wants my attention. So anyway, I won't keep you here long, because who knows if she'll ever start barking tonight. She's just in a mood. But you know, I started to notice that I was starting to change, and I wasn't even really trying hard or trying too hard to define anything. I had just taken a suggestion and did something different, and it worked. So this last sentence where it says, these are ways I slowly move toward faith and a higher power, right? Even then, I wasn't able to define this higher power or this God or what it was or who it was, or I just knew something was happening. They gave me a suggestion, I took it, and something started to happen in my life. And little by little, I mean, the relationship grew. The more I worked on it, the better it got. I think my relationship, it's been true for me that my relationship with my higher power is just like any relationship I have out in the world. You know, am I doing anything to coddle it, to hang out with him? Am I spending time with him? Just like, am I spending time with a girl that I like or a boy that I like? Am I spending time with my family, my you know, my mom and my sister when they're around, my nieces? Am I spending time with them? Am I asking how their day was? Am I being there for them? You know, maybe I can't always help them financially, but maybe just spending some quiet time with them, watching a movie. And the same thing has been true with my relationship with the higher power, that just the more time that I spent and the more that I was willing to do things that was leading me towards that way, the better my life got, the better the relationship got, the better the understanding got, right? So I'm grateful for those first few days where I wasn't even sure what I was doing, that I was doing something that was totally changing my life. Later on, I start to believe more and more. I mean, I believe that, you know, some of y'all have heard me talk about this. You know, I pray for people. Do I heal them? Not necessarily, but I like praying for them. Praying doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to get what I want for you, but it might mean that something's going to cover you till you get to where you're going. You know, I don't know. I'm not God, but what I do know is I like to pray. I believe that I have you know, I have something. I duly believe I have oil, right? That I'm oiled, that I'm oily, but I'm not too sure yet in which way, shape, or form. These videos that I make is only a testimony to my recovery about this program that really, really works, and how this relationship with the higher power has really improved my life. You're talking about somebody who for all his life, he felt like he was going to hell, and that, you know, because of what people had told him. God doesn't like this, you're going to hell because you're this and you're that, and you didn't do this and you didn't that, and blah, 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 blah. Man, I was like, I felt doomed even as a child. I said, man, I believe there's a higher power. I just don't believe that he's cool with me. Because up until now, everything they said, I'm doing everything they said that would take me to hell. So I'm pretty sure that's where I'm going. And I never ever imagined my life. I never imagined myself being saved, right? I never imagined myself living a sober lifestyle. I never imagined myself having this relation. I never imagined myself that I would ever get to the point to be able to even tell you, yes, there's a higher power. And I call it God, and it works. You know, I would never imagine myself even saying things like that. I mean, I've been really, really surprised about this program. I've been surprised by the gift that I've gotten from just taking the suggestions, and that's it. So, so I don't think my dog's gonna be quiet anytime soon. So I just want to encourage you before I get off here. I just want to encourage you, if you don't have a higher power, maybe you're still mad at God, that's okay. That's okay for now. But I will try to encourage you to try something, maybe just a little tiny little thing, like just saying just a little simple prayer, like, thank you, I made it another day. And you wake up in the morning, thank you, I woke up again, I have a do-over, I have another chance to do this life right. You know, and lately I've been really on this, for those of you who have been watching me these past couple of weeks, they're hard, and just through talking, which is another point they talked about here in this book, you know, talking with another person in recovery, it really, really helps. And I started talking about what was really going on within me, and one of my you know, my peers, he just comes up to me and says, man, Chris, you sound like you're ashamed. And I said, yeah, I am. And he said, he reminded me, right? Because he told me this before, but I've forgotten. He said, did you do it? And I said, yeah, I did it. And he said, then you're guilty. He says, guilt says you made the mistake. Shame says you are the mistake. He says, and you're not a mistake. You might have did something bad, but you're not the mistake. You're not a mistake. He said. He said, I just wanted to remind you. I mean, something so simple as that. And then I started thinking, like, that's right. And okay, I was out of line. But do I have to chastise my own self forever? I don't want to do that. I don't want to live like that. And I was like, you know what? I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know that's not that. I know I don't want to do that because that's not good for my recovery. As a matter of fact, that's making my recovery really, really hard. But in that moment, I couldn't think of anything to get myself out of that. So it just happens that I don't have work right now. I mean, I do have work, but not at my station. So they're sending me out and you know, some stuff started to happen where I had like a lot of days off in a row. And I remember just being alone in those moments and just thinking to myself and just being like, man, I need something to get me out of this funk. I don't know what I was thinking. I was like, I need something, God, just something. Help me figure out what's going on here because I don't want to go through this no more. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to watch TV today. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to veg at home. And I started watching this Netflix series. Man, that Netflix comes up with some good stuff. And I started watching this series, and it's about a boy who's different. And I started watching him, his person, his character, and how he handles even though people around him can't really handle it, he handles his differences in a way that it's actually admirable. I admire him for knowing who he is, what makes him tick, what little things he does when he gets nervous. He allows himself the space to be nervous. He has little tools and some of the tools that he uses are the same tools that I use. I don't know if, you know, so one of the tools that I started to do was that I wear earphones on my ears, because sometimes at work there's a lot of negativity and people talking about people, and that stuff will get in me real fast, and I don't like to be part of that, man. I don't like to be part of the gossip. So I started wearing these earphones on my ears, and sometimes I'll play music, but sometimes I wouldn't because it would make my ears hurt. But I loved having them on because it made me feel safe. Well, this boy in this series, he does the same thing. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not alone. I'm not alone. And that boy, he's learning how to handle himself, how to do life. He's underdeveloped, just like I am, but still very smart and talented and creative, just like I am. And I think, this boy's living my life. And every time, and I watch him and I just think, today I woke up and I was so grateful that I didn't have to be perfect, that I didn't want to be perfect, that I was totally cool with not meeting anybody's expectations today, that I was totally cool with just being my own person, I was totally cool knowing that what I had done before is because I didn't know any better, but now I'm learning, and as I'm learning, I'm making adjustments, and that I'm not going to beat myself up. And if I do start to beat myself up, then find my support system. Get myself a support system. He reminded me how important therapy is. You know, it took me forever to get to therapy, but once I got there, I realized it. But man, you know, after about like 3 or 4 sessions of that lady, dude, she totally changed my life in 3 or 4 sessions. But he reminded me how important it is to have that one person who just can see things from a different angle that'll help me, that help him. He researches a lot. And you know what? One thing that I like about him that can kind of be like strange about me, because he's diagnosed. I'm not diagnosed with anything, but me and him, we do a lot of the same things. And he gets a stare, and he just like, you can't shake him off from it. And I get the same stare. I could just be doing something, and all of a sudden I find myself just in a stare. And it just catches me out of nowhere. and I'll be just in a stare, and that stare feels so comfortable and so good to just stare. And I'm not necessarily staring at anything or judging anything or having thoughts. I'm just like in a zone, in a comfortable zone. It's like putting your head on a really comfortable pillow after a long day. You just want to lay down and you put your head on a really comfortable pillow and you're like, oh my God, this feels so good. That's what the stare feels like. It feels that good. And he does the same thing. And then there's another thing. When a thought gets in his head, he just keeps, and I've been called out on this. And I get it, because people look at me and they're like, well, he's normal, right? He's not diagnosed. I mean, if I went around telling people, oh yeah, I'm diagnosed with this, would it make a difference in how they see me or how they accept me or how they picture me? I mean, you know, the other day somebody got really I felt like was in my face about these thoughts that get into my head, and then they run wild, right? And you know, I remember getting to that place where I felt bad. I mean, like I was beating myself up about it. I'm like, dude, you're this age, you're 47 years old, and you still can't get your thoughts together. Like your emotions are running wild. Like, what's wrong with you, right? And when I saw this young boy going through the same thing with his thoughts, I was like, man, Chris, it's okay, bud. It's okay, man. And nobody can support you through this. I'll support you. Because for the first time, I felt like there was somebody else out there who was going through the same thing that I was going through. In a way that it's more than just alcoholism or drug addiction. It's past that. It's this thing, and the way we think, our brains are just a little bit different. Not better or worse, just a little bit different. And I've been learning really how to have grace with myself, how to love on myself, and how to just be okay. Just know that, you know what, Chris? Stop trying so hard, man. Stop trying so hard to be perfect for those people. Every time, just stop trying. Just cut it out, Chris. And that has been so refreshing for me, just to be like, that's right, I'm quirky. I got stuff about me. Yeah, my mind just does things that nobody understands. I took it hard when they had that conversation with me. It wasn't a nice conversation. As a matter of fact, it made me feel really bad. But I'm so grateful. I'm grateful that I started watching this TV show that's really, really helping me. I don't have to be autistic to understand him, his quirkiness. And even the people who love him won't ever understand him 100%, because he's ever changing, just like me. I'm ever changing. And even the people who really, really love me are never gonna understand me 100%. And I'm okay with that, because I don't even understand myself 100%. I'm still learning about myself, and I'm okay. It was such a refreshing, man. I am so grateful. I'm so grateful. So if you're out there and you're maybe struggling with the same things, maybe thinking nobody understands you, nobody gets you, so your life sucks, man, it doesn't have to suck. Even if nobody gets you, even if nobody understands you, it doesn't have to suck. Because you know what? We're not the only ones. We're not the only ones going through that. Other people are doing it, and they're succeeding in life, man. They're going to college, they're doing stuff, they're building relationships, you know, they're dating, we ain't gotta be perfect to date. So if you're out there struggling with this thing of perfectionism, I'm just gonna encourage you to just give yourself a chance and drop it. Drop this idea that you gotta be perfect, because truth is you don't. It's not about other people, it's about you. It's not about other people, it's about me. How does Chris care for himself? What does Chris want to live? What kind of employee does Chris want to be? What kind of friend does Chris want to be? Even with all his crazy thoughts, even with his quirky ways of being, even with his text messages that are way offbeat, what does Chris do? Even with his feelings that he can't control, what is Chris? I mean, how does Chris want to handle his life? How does Chris want to be in his life? You know, and I have a lot of gratitude right now. I have a lot of gratitude right now. Woke up this morning and I was like, I'm gonna wear what I want to wear, whether it matches or makes sense to anybody or not. I'm gonna comb my hair the way I want to comb it, wear the jewelry I want to wear, and just be good to myself. And man, it really worked today. It really worked. And I don't know, tomorrow's a new day, but if I do what worked today, it might work tomorrow too. And if not, I'll just roll with the punches. That boy, he does good. He rolls with the punches. He struggles a little bit, then he goes with it. Man, he's been really encouraging to me. So folks, if I can't encourage you, find somebody who will encourage you. If this video doesn't work, find yourself one that works, man. Life is too short. It's too precious. It's too awesome to not live it to your fullest. It's too awesome, man. And people, they ain't always gonna get us, and that's okay. That doesn't make us less of anything. As a matter of fact, it makes us pretty awesome, pretty unique in our very own way. There's only one Chris, and I'm so grateful for that. I'm grateful for who I am today. There's only one of you, and I'm grateful for that. There's only one of you. Do we have things in common? Probably. Can we do things that work for both of us? Yeah, because I'm doing what that boy does, and it works. It works for me too. I'm not autistic, not that I know of, but man, I could easily be. But anyway, it's been fun. It's been cool. Hopefully I encourage you. Today was March 6th. Tomorrow will be March 7th. So hopefully we'll see you then. Have a wonderful evening. Bye.